If Tom Hanks is America's dad, then Jason Segel has to be America's best friend on Film Threat Reviews. I'm Alan Ning. I was Zorianna Kit, and today we review Our Friend, based on an article by Matthew Teague called The Friend, Love is Not a Big Enough Word. The subject is the author of that article. His name's Matt. His life is upended when his wife, Nicole, comes down with a terminal disease, cancer. And it's up to his best friend, Dane, to be basically the caretaker of him and his family. Directed by Gabriela Cowperthwaite, written by Brad Ingelsby, stars Casey Affleck, Jason Segel, and Dakota Johnson. So Zorianna, what did you think of? I have a lot of feelings about this one, and I want to get your thoughts first.
Okay. Well, I'll throw out one thought there because I don't want to ramble on various topics. This movie's biggest fault is in the editing, the timelines. This movie is told in these little chapters, like 6 months before diagnosis, 3 years after diagnosis, 2 years before diagnosis, 4 days after. It's so you are jumping. The movie starts off with, okay, let's tell the kids mommy has cancer. And then it jumps to, oh, hey, look at us happy before there's any cancer. And the jumps are so frequent that after a while you are a little confused as to where you are at this point, because no one ages really, not even their own children. And secondly, it prevents you from actually being invested emotionally in these characters because you don't feel anything for them when you meet a stranger who's diagnosed with cancer. Or you don't understand why the friend is all of a sudden in their house when you don't know how he got there in the first place. It's really disjointed that way. I would love to see this movie re-edited and told in a chronological order so that we see the evolution of every single character, because the arcs are completely destroyed by these cuts and these disjointed chapters. And that resulted to me in a movie that was completely one giant mess. I know I said editing, but the editing is really, it's a result of the chosen structure, which was the wrong structure for this type of film.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. This is a movie that I approached or I came to it from a different direction in the sense of, I'm maybe a little too close to the subject matter at the moment. And, to know someone who has cancer is where the future that is displayed in this movie is kind of a reality that's coming down the road. It got me, and I think it got me mostly because of that. Because I think emotionally I resonated with the film more than you may have, just because it's that close to me at the moment. And so what was happening on screen was either happening now or, I can kind of sense it happening, hopefully far into the future. But there's a point in my life where, these are things I'm going to have to kind of face. That was the thing that, there was almost a point where I was going to say, hey, maybe we put off not reviewing this one, but it was like, well, no, I think I do need to kind of talk about this one. But getting to your point, there are jumps where I'm trying to figure out, okay, where exactly in this timeline are we now? Again, I think this movie really will speak to different people at different levels, depending on where they are.
The thing is if we look at the order chronologically of this couple, she is a local theater actress, dreams of becoming a Broadway star. He is a struggling journalist working at a local paper. And we see him achieve his dream of becoming like this war correspondent, and he's going to Libya and all this stuff. Meanwhile, she ends up staying home with the kids. He's never really there for her kids because he's kind of an absentee dad. And meanwhile, Jason Segel plays this man who she knows from the theater, and he like harbors this eternal crush for her, but because she's married, he settles for just like being in her life. Like he'll accept that. And he ends up becoming both of their best friends. So when she is sick, he literally moves into their home to help care for the kids, to help be an emotional support for them. But the thing is the movie is called Our Friend. But I feel like the focus is more on this couple that we are not emotionally invested in, because we're like, oh yeah, well, why do I need to watch him struggle at a local newspaper? Like,
you bring up the other point I was going to bring about. It is the Jason Segel role, and it is the title, Our Friend. Our Friend is the Jason Segel. And the movie does follow down these two paths of the cancer of Nicole, the wife, and also the life of the best friend who comes in as that caretaker, who is around. He's the ultimate underachiever in life. The film seemed to balance the two stories relatively equally, when you kind of want it to be more about the friend, since that's the title of it. And this is where credit goes to Jason Segel, and the fact that he's got this best friend persona down perfectly. It's not about what he does, but it's about what he does for you. Well, the fact that he sacrifices his life for, the girl he's eternally in love with, and her family, and there's this higher calling he feels to where he needs to be there for this family. He literally sacrifices everything socially, professionally in order to do this.
But so here's the thing. Does he really sacrifice that? Because we actually never learn what makes him tick and why he makes the choices that he makes. Like, why is he's to outsiders, he's like some failure who never amounted to anything in his life. He can't hold down a job, or if he does have it, it's a menial, no career growth opportunities. Can't seem to really have a girlfriend, no prospects of getting married, having kids of his own. Yet, despite this sort of a frowned upon thing, he excels at being this caretaker. So is he, you have to wonder, is he running away from something? Is he choosing this life in order to forever be like Peter Pan, never grow up? But he's taking on this really huge adult roles of like helping with the children, almost like he fills in for the absentee dad to really be the anchor for these kids who are struggling.
Let me respond to it this way. This is a real story, a true story. That's a real person. This is the thing about telling stories about real people. Not everybody in the world wants to be famous. Not everyone wants to stand up on the stage and be known for something. So, some people just are comfortable with life, the life that they have. And, he's working menial jobs at a sporting goods shop, but maybe that's what makes him happy. Maybe that's maybe that's his ambition in life is. I mean, ultimately his ambition in life is to have a family, be married, have a family.
But is it though, Alan? Because we don't really know what his ultimate ambition is. And we don't know. You're saying, well, not everyone wants to be in the spotlight. Never got a sense of what he felt he wanted. Is he just reacting to the situations that are happening and the forces, in this case, cancer, someone dying? Is he like blowing in the wind in reaction to life around him?
What the thing is that's what happens when tragedy strikes like this. You get blown around. He got caught in this family's trial and tribulation. I don't think there was a plan that he had going in, because he did it for quite a while. Sometimes life doesn't have a grand character arc where you start on a journey and you become this great person. The story really is about a friendship. When at the end, when he writes the article for the magazine, he asks, well, I thought this was supposed to be about your wife. And the guy, and Matt Wright says, well, it was supposed to be.
I just didn't know if I was supposed to praise him and root for him for the amazing selfless job that he was doing. Meanwhile, he really wasn't being selfless and amazing in any other area of his life. So how is he excelling in the friendship arena but failing in everything else? Or is it just creepy? Is it just a creepy guy who just somehow infiltrated your life and you're like, okay, well, I can use the help, but I'll take it.
I think the intentions are there. And I think the issue then is did the filmmakers ultimately get that intention across? And I'm approaching the subject from a different perspective, and so I began, giving questions like that the benefit of the doubt.
I couldn't, Alan. Like I couldn't. I was not invested in any of these characters. None of them made me. I didn't find any of them like I wasn't rooting for anyone. Yes, it sucked that she had cancer, but like, I didn't necessarily see other aspects of her that I thought were very formidable. I didn't feel like that there was any one person I was rooting for, and like I just felt like I was left blowing in the wind, like some of these characters and going which way, the left, right, up, down, not really knowing where I was going. I feel like I was like rambling or bumbling along just like everyone else was here.
I think I just ultimately came to the conclusion that sometimes movies are meant for a small segment of society than others, because I can see where you're coming from, and I think maybe I might be headed down that direction if things were different. And that's kind of the weird thing about my approach to this film. And I think if you've gone through this experience, or if close friends or been kind of the third wheel in kind of a situation like this, I think you're gonna find a lot of familiar things, and you're gonna feel a lot of things, dare I say, triggered by a lot of things in this movie.
Clearly, this really hit home for you, and I think you gave this movie, based on how much it touched you from your personal experience, which I'm so sorry that you are going through, because it's definitely not something I would wish on anyone.
Oh,
but I think that you probably gave this movie an 8, maybe even an 8.5.
Yeah, I gave it an 8. And, I think you're bringing up a lot of, how I felt, in the sense of, I think if I knew someone who was kind of going through this, I would direct him to the movie, but I'd warn him it gets a little too real. There are a lot of qualifications I would give before directing someone toward this movie. Absolutely. All right. So for you, I think you're taking it from a very, storytelling standpoint, especially with the editing. I agree with you. The editing jumps were, when you don't have subtitles saying 8 months later, 6 months past, whatever, there's a disorientation that occurs when you're trying to piece together, well, where are you in this story? And I think you felt that throughout most of it, because there are a lot of jumps, and that distracted you from the main story. So I'm gonna guess you gave it a 6.
I actually gave it a 5. To me, this movie is not a recommend, precisely because the structure of a story is everything, and if, to me, that all went out the window, and that meant that I couldn't get into the film, and I couldn't get myself invested in these characters and actually care about them. And it's not a movie I feel like I could, in good conscience, recommend to other people. And in the end, it just ended up being a little too like a Hollywood cancer movie, but not even a very good one. And I feel bad being so crass about it, Alan, especially considering at how it touched you. But this is how I feel. This is how I felt when I was watching it. I couldn't wait to be done with it. I just did not want to continue engaging with these people at all. But it does make me want to go ahead and find the Esquire article and read it, because clearly it was good enough for someone to want to option it. So I'm curious to see how that was, and if I find any sort of closure, for lack of a better word, in the Esquire piece.
Yeah, I mean, he won a National Magazine Award for the article. So
there you go.
Yeah. So maybe this is one of those movies that gets you to read the original.
Yeah.
Okay. Be sure to like, subscribe, comment below to this Film Threat YouTube channel, and let us know what you thought. And with that, let's get out of here.